Now we'd like to start the Ruby Prize 2019, the presentation of the winners. But prior to that, we'd like to present the letter of appreciation to Mr. Sho Hashimoto, who passed away abruptly last August by the Ruby Prize organizing committee. Mr. Hashimoto is a Ruby committer who lived in Matsuye City and edited the Ruby reference manual Rurima, and also made a great contribution to the development of a Ruby community. And on behalf of the Ruby Prize organizing committee, the President Matsuhomo Yukihiro will present that to Mr. Shugo Maeda, who were active together with Mr. Hashimoto and also superior to Mr. Hashimoto at the workplace and work together at the Ruby community. And then in turn, Mr. Maeda will give this the letter of appreciation to his family. Mr. Maeda, please. Mr. Hashimoto, your activities made a great contribution to the dissemination and the development of the activities of our Ruby community and the Ruby work. And that's signed by Yukihiro Matsumoto, the chairperson of the Ruby Prize organizing committee, to Mr. Maeda. Mr. Maeda, I'd like to talk about Mr. Hashimoto's achievement. Mr. Hashimoto, all of you here at the Matsuye Ruby community know, but we work together at the same office. He joined the company in 2004, so we were together for 15 years. And his contribution in Ruby is that, first of all, the reference module called Rurima, and that is a Japanese language, Rurima. He contributed greatly. We call it Ruby committers. Most of the people do not write documents. For instance, Mr. Matsumoto says that cause documentation. Therefore, the documents are not complete. So Mr. Hashimoto wrote Japanese language documents and also in English. Sometimes the contents are the correcting Rurima Japanese version than the English manual. So he started to correct the errors of the English written materials. 27th of August, he had became ill, and then he passed away most abruptly on 29th of August, and I cannot believe it's true. And also so many people expressed condolences on internet, and this is a tremendous loss and very painful. I regret that, and I was not able to say thank you to him for his great contribution in Ruby, but I think this is a great opportunity to say thank you to Mr. Hashimoto, and I like to show my appreciation to him in this occasion. Thank you. Mr. Maeda, thank you. Now, we would like to start the ceremony for Ruby Prize 2019. The Ruby Prize is given to the people who come to Ruby community anew and contribute to Ruby community. This started in 2013, and the candidate has been recommended globally, and Ruby Association and the Japan Association Ruby and the city of Matsuye organized that organizing committee which did the examination and the selection of the winner. And now here we are at the ceremony to present the winners and also recognition. You have just seen the final nominees of Ruby Prize 2019. I'd like to introduce them. Please come up on the stage. Sakura Itoyanagi, Kazuki Tsujimoto, Jeremy Evans, the three people who are the final nominees. On behalf of the Ruby Prize Organizing Committee, Yukihiro Matsumoto, the chairperson, is going to say a few words. And me again. Now, Ruby Prize is sponsored by the city of Matsue. This is a recognition of the individuals of Ruby. For instance, the project and the business are recognized at other occasion. This is the occasion to recognize the immediate activities of individuals. For instance, Jeremy has been doing the Ruby and the Rails. He's not new at all, actually. But he became a Ruby committer this year. In this sense, he's new, but he's one of the nominees, final nominees. Every year, the Ruby community develop by welcoming new people into the community, and the community expand and develop, and then in turn Ruby develops. In a keynote speech in the morning, the development of the community would enable the goods and the service to expand globally, and this is an essential condition for the dissemination of goods and products. So these are three nominees made a great contribution to the development and expansion of the Ruby community. I have to choose one, unfortunately, and two people would receive the auxiliary prizes. Thank you, Mr. Matsumoto. The next, again on behalf of the Ruby Prize Organizing Committee, Yoshinobu Hoshino, Vice Mayor of Matsue City, is going to say a few words too. Good afternoon. I'm Hoshino, Vice Mayor of Matsue City. Welcome to Ruby City, Matsue. I would like to express my heartfelt welcome to all of you. Now, Ruby is used globally in various areas, particularly private corporations and the service area. Ruby has been appreciated greatly and leading to great contribution. On the other hand, the improvements of Ruby or the addition of the new functionalities of Ruby, those committed volunteers support the further development of Ruby, but this is not well known in the world. That's why we decided to recognize these individuals who gave the energy and effort to the development of Ruby in the world. We believe that we needed to shed a spotlight on these the individuals. Now, those individuals who contributed in the recent development of the Ruby community to new people. Some people are not exactly new, but actually this is a recognition of those newcomers. And with this Ruby Prize, we can further invigorate the Ruby activities and expand the potentiality of the Ruby further. I do have the great hope. This is the 7th Ruby Prize. Ito Yanagi-san, Tsujimoto-san, Jeremy. The final nominees are well known to all of you, and they did a great contribution to the Ruby community's development. They are most suitable people as a Ruby Prize winner. I express my deepest respect, and also I wish the active development of their activities as well. And in conclusion, I'd like to thank Yukihiro Matsumoto, Ruby Association, and the Japan Association of Ruby, who did a dedicated effort to the Ruby Prize. And also, I'd like to wish your health and your activities into the future. With this, I'd like to close my remark. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hoshino, the Vice Mayor of Matsui City. Now, we would like to introduce the contribution of the final nominees. Mr. Sakura Itoyanagi, he has been involved in the improvement of interactive Ruby and other tools. He has been selected as one of the final nominees based on his successful implementation of the multiple editor reline. Mr. Tsujimoto has been instrumental in implementing pattern matching, one of the distinguishing features of Ruby 2.7. Mr. Jeremy Evans became a Ruby core committer in 2019, taking the lead in organizing keyword arguments and making numerous improvements. Now, we would like to make an announcement of the Ruby Prize 2019 awardee from the 3 nominees. I would like to ask Mr. Yukihiro Matsumoto to announce this year's Ruby Prize awardee. Mr. Matsumoto, please. Yes, I want to make an announcement of the Ruby Prize 2019 awardee, Mr. Sakura Itoyanagi. Mr. Sakura Itoyanagi, congratulations on your receiving Ruby Prize 2019. We would like to make an awardee ceremony. First, Mr. Sakura Itoyanagi, followed by the 2 nominees of the Ruby Prize, Mr. Tsujimoto and Mr. Jeremy Evans. And Mr. Matsumoto will give the certificate and the trophy. Ruby Prize 2019, and Ruby Prize is for those who have been making a great contribution to the dissemination of Ruby. November the 7th, 2019, Mr. Matsumoto, the chairperson of the executive committee. Next, the trophy is handed over to Mr. Itoyanagi. This is a trophy for you. So we would like to have a commemorative photo with the chair. Congratulations, Mr. Itoyanagi. Now, Mr. Hoshino will give the plate of the award prize of 1 million yen. So we would like to have a photograph with the Vice Mayor. Will you please have a beautiful smile? Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, Ruby Prize 2019. Mr. Itoyanagi, will you please say a few words? Yes, I will be very brief. Samuel Williams is the 99th Ruby committer, and I'm the 100th. And Jeremy is 101st, and the last Ruby committer in Heisei era. And more recently, Mr. Tsujimoto has been making a great contribution. So these newcomers to the community is highly evaluated, and we are very grateful for your supporting us. And thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Itoyanagi. Next, the final nominee, Mr. Tsujimoto. We would like to reward Mr. Tsujimoto, and the certificate and trophy is given by Mr. Matsumoto. Ruby Prize 2019 final nominee, Mr. Kazuki Tsujimoto. And we would like to congratulate you on your great success in your contribution to Ruby community. And trophy is to be presented. Thank you very much for moving the microphone for the photographs. Will you please give the trophy before taking a photograph? Congratulations, Mr. Tsujimoto. Sorry, Mr. Matsumoto is moving the microphones. Thank you very much. And then the financial reward by Mr. Hoshino, the Vice Mayor. So another commemorative photograph. The financial reward is 100,000 yen. Another photograph, Mr. Hoshino, please. Thank you. Thank you. So, Mr. Tsujimoto, will you please give a word? And I'm very glad that I'm final nominee of Ruby Prize 2019. Since I have given this opportunity, I want to talk And the pattern matching is the function, which is the target of the price. And I have an article of approximately 50 pages describing the specification and how to use the pattern matching. So we would like you to refer to this. Thank you very much, Mr. Tsujimoto. Lastly but not least, the final nominee, Mr. Jeremy Evans. Mr. Matsumoto, please.
The nominee, Jeremy Evans. The development of Ruby is the fruit of all of our efforts in recognition of your outstanding contribution to the development and strategy of Ruby. November 7th, 2019, Ruby Project Executive Committee Chairperson Yukihiro Matsumoto. Thank you. Congratulations.
Then the trophy is to be presented to Mr. Jeremy Evans. Thank you. Then the Vice Mayor will present the financial reward. Vice Mayor Mr. Hoshino has given him a plate of the financial reward of 100,000 yen. Congratulations, Mr. Jeremy Evans. Jeremy, will you please give a few words?
Thank you very much. I'm greatly honored to be here and be selected as one of the final nominees. As they mentioned, I've been working mostly on fixing or separating keyword arguments and making sure that it's done in the most backwards compatible way. And the other thing I've been working on is reducing Ruby's open bugs. We started out when I was a Ruby committer in May with about 1,400 and something bugs, and we're now down to about 450 something. So it's a huge improvement, and I'm very happy about that. Thank you.
ジェレミー・エヴァンス様、ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much, Jeremy Evans. Then, lastly but not least, I would like to ask Mr. Itoyanagi, the awardee of the Ruby Prize 2019, to give us an award speech. The other persons, will you please go back to your seats?
So
allow us a few minutes to do the computer setup. Thank you.
So if
you're ready, Mr. Itoyanagi. So here we go around the Ruby tool chains. It's my title. My name is Itoyanagi. I'm very honored to be here. So hello everyone. So about myself first, I'm a Ruby committer and also the current RDoc maintainer. So that's a document tools for Ruby and also the member of the Ruby core team. As for community I belong to Asakusa RB. Every Tuesday the meeting is held. the company I work for, Space Pirates LLC. So what I'm doing at that company, recently I work for development of the software for the venture company. And then, well, because we are supposed to be pirates, we receive or steal the money via the bank account. This company was founded 2 years ago by my friend. It's still small. There are 5 employees working for this company. But I was hired as a semi-full-time Ruby committer. So I feel a little bit sorry that I'm stealing the money from the bank account, the billing for the Ruby. So I'm very happy that I also received the Ruby prize. And for this prize, maybe I should thank my company as well, because I was supported by this company. And maybe because the company supported me too much, the company's financial condition is not so good. So if you're interested and thinking about some services, I'd like you to get in touch with this company. So they might work as, for example, the product designer. When I work as a product designer, I have to think what vision we should provide to users, and also release timing and the service value, and also how to realize that service value. So these are the topics I discuss with client. So 5W, I tried to write this sentence in terms of 5 Ws, 1 H, but I could find only 2 Ws, so it didn't work. And as for the product designer, what I think is most important is user first, because we have to bring the value to the users. And the software is developed in order to solve the issues for the customers. And that is why we are working on the tools. So we are working on the tools so we can deliver the tools to the users. And when the new functions are added, these are visible to the users. But why I added the new functions, it's often not clear from users' point of view. And I think it's the same for developers. Having the big vision is not easy. And because of that, when we have software projects, we tend to have just repetition of the same work again and again. So as a product designer, there should be something we can contribute. So now, as a little bit different topic, my hobby is climbing. In particular, I use alpine style, so it's like an alpinist, I would call myself. And alpine style means we climb the very high the mountain. It's the style developed in Europe initially. And this is the word of a person called Albert Mummery, and more higher, more difficulty. So we in Japan call this idea Mummerism, and it's more than 100 years his concept was shared by many people. So in those days, when Mummery was climbing, there were many the mountains which were not climbed by people. So that means alpinist was a type of adventure, challenging so far unexplored summits of the mountain. But then what's the idea of adventure? We all human beings live in a society. Society expects you to behave with common sense. For example, eating 3 times a day. But I don't think it was the way all the people lived, the people in old days lived, and also waking up and going to the company at the same time every day. And again, all the people didn't do like that. and also working for the same company for 20 years, 30 years. Well, perhaps that's only in Japan, but the so-called common sense and the rules are considered as important to maintain stable society. A stable society is constructed with many systems to support humans. For example, systems to keep your health, insurance, hospitals, and also to protect your house, civil engineering, and the public work to pave the roads, and also for the personal relationship. There are many things. For example, Asakusa Ruby community, and also this conference where we are meeting today is a kind of system realized by society or social system. But these ideas don't apply to adventure. Well, this is the excerpt of the book called A New Theory of Adventure, written by Kakuhata. At present, even the very high mountain like Everest, even with very limited experience, you can reach the summit as a participant of the tour. So this says the current Mount Everest tour mountaineering has become routine. The act was repeated over and over again, and the way it was standardized lost the unknown element. It was absorbed within the framework of our common sense and became so mundane that even a TV comedy, the challenges, within the framework of our common sense. And also the world's highest peak was symbol of the unknown. It stood outside the symbols of society, but was somehow absorbed. And also, original adventure, this system or outside the system, is an act of jumping into the unknown and a chaotic area where nobody can tell whether there is any answer in the first place. So please note, this system is used. It's not anti-system, because when anti-society is really the part of society, it's also part of society. So when you say anti-system, it is a kind of system. So what's highlighted here is the system. So you jump outside. You're not really against it or opposing it. You're simply departing from the society. So original adventure is an act of jumping into the unknown and chaotic area. And because of this definition, adventure is breaking away from existing systems. It's a pioneer work, so some unknown new territory. I said I climb. For example, I climbed, I don't know how to pronounce because the name was written in Malay, so I don't know where I went myself. But anyhow, there was a river, and I did the river climbing, going 100-meter high waterfall. It was in rainforest, and I did that in a rainy season where the water level was really high, and that was the first ascent, and I did it solo. Also in Kenya, on a Mount Kenya called the Batian, that's 5,199 meter high, and I climbed from the ice window route, and I did climbing ascent solo as well. There were many other people did it as pair, but I was doing it by myself. But in this case, my crampon was broken at the 5,000 meter high, so I had to give up. So the adventure is full of uncertainties and dangers. The level's almost insane. So adventure, you cannot apply the common sense, and also you have to overcome the various challenges when you face them. And also you have to suffer severe setbacks sometimes. So sometimes I almost cry or tired out, and I feel so miserable. So I feel sometimes adventure is really the worst things I can do. But then what about adventure, the best adventure, greatest adventure, the programming? And I think one of such greatest adventure is Ruby. Why? Because again, adventures act, you cannot apply the common sense. You have to overcome, you have to push forward in the face of adversity, and you may suffer severe setbacks sometimes. And most of the programmings are written for easy parse by computer, but it's not the case, because Ruby is written for users' benefit. So if you look at the syntax of Ruby, it's easy to use by users. So from the writing syntax point of view, you have to build in a very complex manner. So if you look at Ruby, it's very similar to the natural language like a Japanese or English. And when you change the syntax, you have to discuss the very, very carefully. So when you introduce a new syntax to Ruby, you have to make very good preparation. If you're not, it may bring the damage to the existing software. And here's again the famous adventurist Mr. Tanaka. He was awarded the special prize named after another great adventurer, Mr. Uemura. So what he wrote was, the criterion of my adventure is to seek the path of those who have been stopped because it was too dangerous. So he would give it a go when other people think it's too dangerous. So I think Matsumoto-san, especially in early days, I think the other people said, well, this syntax is so, I don't know what to say. You're crazy, because it was so different. It's too new, right, Matsumoto-san? Or maybe not. Sorry, it wasn't really accurate comment, but at least I try to do something completely new, and often I receive the comments on the previous slide. But that is because other people still do not understand the values of the things I'm going to do yet. So if that's the case, that's the good indicator for me to take on that challenge. So when other people do not agree with what I'm going to do, I have to trust my own vision, and I have to write the code or whatever for my own vision. I think it's the same for you. And also another example I'd like to share related with Ruby. Ruby Prize 2019. I'm very happy that I received this prize. So I'd like to explain what I did. So as mentioned earlier, I'm doing the maintenance of the RDoc with the documentation tools for Ruby. And many people say, when I look for the documents of the Ruby, I use Google, and it's the same with you, right? Well, I do use Google, but when it comes to Ruby, the Ruby itself, and also Gem, the library set, so as default, it's installed with document. So the documents is already there. However, the users are not realizing it and then try to find it on the web. So it's like your smartphone has emoji, but every time you go to the website and find the emoji you like to use and copy it and paste it. So you're wasting your resource. And here's RA. When you try to try Ruby, you can check. You can check using IRB or interactive Ruby. So you can try, you can test the various inputs. And there, I like to add interactive documentation tool. So that's my plan. And what's used there, it's called the read line, which was used more than 30 years ago. So it has older history than Ruby. So when I try to introduce its interactive the system, I have to fight against this system, history. And I started this 2 years ago. And there's a Keiju-san who is considered as Ruby's godfather. And also he was the author of RAB initially. And at this Ruby Kaigi, he proposed RAB2. And in this RAB2, there are many wonderful tools. One of them is multi-line editing tool. So the tool was there, but was not perfect yet. I realized it would be very challenging, but I was inspired by his vision and his adventurous spirit, and I wanted to support him. Because Ruby's concept is easy to use. So multi-line editing is something that can bring Ruby to even higher level. So if you can use the editor with more of a functions and still yet write very quickly, it will be really great. And also this, when I think about interactive the document, like you can input and also at the same time you can cite the document. So his idea has very good affinity with my vision. So this could be one of the vision for new IRB. And with these ideas, we are able to offer the new wonderful user experience. So this is an adventure I started. However, I found it's like a hell. So the Unicode specification is quite challenging. So confusing. And also the terminal, that's the screen, you write the command. So the terminal has the very long history, the longer history than computer. And because of the long history, there have been many behaviors and many the rules. So unless you can support them perfectly, it doesn't behave. And also for the returning the value and the returning the results, the judgment, based upon the input. So the syntax of the Ruby was a little bit complicated. The Ruby is is a language kind to human being, but not so kind to computer. So what's described here must be very complicated, and you may find it not doesn't make sense. But when I was doing this, it didn't make it made sense even less for me. So again, the adventure, we have to face the challenges, and common sense doesn't work. And many people that look at what I was doing often said, "What are you doing? And why are you doing this?" It seems that what I was doing didn't make sense. But then gradually, some Ruby committer said, "Well, that's a wonderful thing, but it doesn't work." Well, in the first year, I kept listening this comment. Well, you can try, but I think it doesn't work. But when I heard so many people telling me it wouldn't work or it would be impossible, I was committed even more, because that would be the great adventure. Because it would be only me that would do it, because all other people said, "Oh, don't do it," or "If you do, still, sorry, it doesn't work." So this adventure is almost over. So it would be released as part of Ruby 2.7 that would be released on Christmas this year. So this is part of the very big vision of RDoc. So multi-line editing function that I mentioned was initially the idea of Keiju-san, who was the initial author of the IRB. So it is like I picked up what Keiju-san did and continued. So to me, it's part of the bigger RDoc vision, because there are other things I like to do as well. And then again, what Tanaka Kanya-san said, awardee of Adventure Award, it says, because he did the climbing in Canada in severe winter, and then he said, severe winter in Canada is no longer recognized an adventure because it was accepted by the masses. So I'm very happy to receive this prize. And then from this summit, Ruby interactive functions for the Ruby and other documentation vision, I like to promote that these by finding the new route. So in doing so, the common sense doesn't apply, and I have to push forward in the face of adversity, and I may have to suffer severe setbacks. But this is what I like to do. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ito Yanagi-san, we wish you all the best with your new adventure. Again, please give him a big round of applause. Thank you very much. And also other two nominees, Tsujimoto-san and Evans-san. Again, please give them big rounds of applause as well. Congratulations.